Hey friends, and welcome back to our channel, or welcome if you're new here. Alright, so moving to Salt Lake City might not be exactly what you expect. It's a growing mid-sized city in the West, and there are definitely some ideas people have about it that don't always line up with reality. So if you're thinking about making the move to Salt Lake City, stay tuned to see if it's right for you. If this is your first time to this channel and you want to know everything about living, eating, sleeping, working, and playing here in northern Utah, then subscribe below and tap the bell for notifications so you can be the first to know about the current market here in northern Utah.
We are Sloan and Kim Peterson with the Peterson Group, and we've been in the real estate business for 10 years. And every day we help people just like you looking to buy, sell, invest, and relocate here to Utah. Whether you're looking to relocate in 9 days or 90 days, give us a call, shoot us a text, or send us an email. All of our information is in the description box below, so we can help you make that smooth transition here to northern Utah. Let's go ahead and get into it.
So Salt Lake City, along with the entire Wasatch Front, has been one of the most popular places to move to in recent years, with Utah being the fastest growing state in the US since 2010. So yeah, the city has been booming, especially during and after the pandemic. There's been a huge transformation with new development seemingly popping up on every corner you walk around downtown, and it feels like the city is growing up right in front of your eyes.
Yeah, and with all that growth though, is gonna come some pros and of course some cons, and honestly some of those might surprise you. In this video, I'm gonna break down what it's really like to live here in Salt Lake City, so whether you're thinking of moving here or you already live here and want to learn a little bit more about the city, we've definitely got you covered. Right now, Salt Lake is super popular for home buyers. The city itself and its neighborhoods are really attractive to not just newcomers, but even people that already live here. We're going to dive into all the hot topics that people usually think about before making their move here. We're going to talk about things like the weather, air quality, construction, housing prices, and of course a lot more, so go ahead and stay tuned.
So construction in Salt Lake City is the first thing we're going to talk about. A lot of people move to Utah for the 4 seasons, but if I'm being honest and kind of joking, we joke that there are only 2 seasons, ski season and construction season. If construction projects bug you, Salt Lake might not be your favorite place to live. You look around the skyline and there are cranes everywhere. It's a city that's constantly changing and growing, and it's not slowing down anytime soon.
One of the biggest developments right now is being done by the Smith Entertainment Group, which owns the Utah Jazz. They also bought a new NHL team, and they're going to be doing a massive downtown redevelopment near the Delta Center. They're transforming a bunch of city blocks, and they've even raised the building height limits and restrictions to make room for these new buildings. It's going to change the way the city looks and feels, especially on that west side. Once it's done, downtown Salt Lake is going to be way more walkable, and it's going to have new shops and restaurants that's really going to make it a fun place to be.
But of course, with all these changes comes pushback. Not everyone's stoked about these big projects, especially since some are partially funded by taxpayer money. I'll dive deeper into that in a future video, but for now, just know that Salt Lake City is growing fast and it's attracting people from all over.
This growth also means there's going to be more places to live, more office buildings, and more restaurants to go ahead and check out. The city has more than doubled its residential units in the last few years, and it's starting to feel a lot more busier. Weekends and even weekdays now have that buzz to them, with people out on patios, hanging out and enjoying the city. It's a whole different vibe than it was just a few years ago.
Okay, so the next thing that you need to know if you're moving to Salt Lake is the unpredictable weather. Now, we do have all 4 seasons here, but our 4 seasons aren't as maybe defined as people think when they think of 4 seasons. For example, right now it's September, almost October, and it's 91 degrees outside, and that's pretty typical for Utah. We joke that we'll have all 4 seasons in one day, and we do quite often. A lot of the times in the spring, you'll start out with a big sweater in the morning, and by the afternoon, it feels like it's full on summer. And so that is just something to consider when you are living in Utah, is the unpredictability of it. You're just gonna have to be prepared for pretty much any season at any time of the year.
Totally. Everyone in Utah, I swear they just have like a backpack with just different layers in it, because you just never know what you're going to get. And if you guys are hiking out here in Utah, definitely make sure that you're bringing different layers for your hikes, because that's definitely going to be a thing that even swings harder when you're up in the mountains.
For sure. I mean, most years I would not be wearing a tank top in October. I would be in a sweater right now. So absolutely crazy.
In the wintertime, I swear you see like people in parkas and shorts. So it's kind of strange like that. We weather the extremes pretty good once you've been accustomed to it for a little bit. So winter itself can get pretty cold, really. It's not as cold like the extreme cold that you might get in places like the Northeast or the Midwest. It's more manageable for sure, but the dryness here is something that you need to keep in mind. The air here is super dry, especially in the winter, so you might notice that your skin and your hair need a little bit more attention than usual. Cracked hands and dry skin are very common, so skincare routines are definitely going to be essential and important here in Utah. Same goes for your hair if you have any. You want to make sure you're taking care of that, as the dryness is going to make that a little more dry, like getting dandruff or just, you know, some of those, I don't even know what you call it, like eczema and things like that. So
yeah, as somebody who does suffer with sinus issues in the dry air, and we've talked about this in other videos, but the winter, because it is dry, is a surprise to a lot of people. People just automatically think because we have so much snow it's wet, and it's not. Like, the air itself is really dry, and so using a humidifier, using things like a neti pot, a saline solution, definitely having, you know, thicker moisturizers for your skin, cracked hands, chapped lips, things like that is a necessity that most people just maybe don't think about or don't even realize when moving to Utah. Okay, air quality issues. Let's talk about air quality, because this is one of the biggest issues that we always hear about from out of state, our poor air quality. And yes, we have done a whole entire video on this, so definitely check that out. But Utah's air quality, particularly in the winter months, is not great. We experience something called inversion, where hot air gets trapped underneath the cold air. And because we are like the second or third sunniest state in the country, we still have a lot of heat in the winter time, right? Even though it's snowed, we'll have the sun beating down. And so you get that hot air trapped under that cold air when the sun drops. And so we get a ton of inversion here. It doesn't help, you know, with all the driving, that we're in a bowl because of the mountains. And so that is really something to think about if you do have any sort of breathing issues.
Yeah, and it's not just the winter, unfortunately, either. In the summertime, we often get smoky skies because of all the wildfires that are in nearby states like California and Idaho. The smoke's gonna drift into our valleys, and then it creates a hazy, smoky atmosphere. So yeah, you know, if clean air is really important to you, or you do suffer from elements like Kim's talking about, then the Salt Lake air quality might be a huge downside for you.
And just one thing to know, our state is well aware of the air quality issues, obviously. It's a big ticket political item that comes up all the time. Our state does have measures in place to rectify it, but those things often take decades to put into place. And again, like talking about, because we are trapped in that bowl of the mountains, it's just something that if you live here, you will experience. There's just no getting around it.
The good thing is it doesn't stay for long periods of time, right? I mean, you might have a week or two, usually it's a few days at a time, but maybe a few weeks total out of the whole year that you have to really deal with that.
And another major concern for anybody moving to Utah is obviously always the politics. So we're going to talk a little bit about Salt Lake City specifically, but a lot of people assume that Utah is super conservative as a whole. But Salt Lake City itself is actually quite different from the surrounding suburban areas. The city has more of a progressive urban vibe, while the suburbs are definitely more conservative. Depending on where you are in Salt Lake, you can find a community that aligns with your political beliefs. Whether you lean more liberal or conservative, there is a space for everyone here.
Definitely. Another thing we just want to transition to is, of course, the cost of living. Now, let's talk about the cost of living here, because it's really a big factor for most people. And historically, Utah has just been known, you know, for being that affordable place to live, but that's not always the case anymore. The overall cost of living is still lower than places like, of course, like New York or California, but housing prices in Salt Lake City have shot up. The city has become super desirable, with neighborhoods like Sugar House, the Avenues, 9th and 9th being in high demand. And when demand is high and supply is low, then prices are of course going to go up. That's just how it works. So while Salt Lake City is awesome, it's also becoming more expensive, especially when it comes to housing.
Yeah, you know, if you are looking for something more affordable, you'll probably want to look outside of the city itself. Places like Cottonwood Heights, Sandy, or Draper can offer more bang for your buck, and they're still close enough to Salt Lake that you can enjoy everything the city has to offer. And now, obviously, if you're willing to come up north, commute a little bit, then you're definitely going to get more bang for your buck. You know, Davis, Weber counties, those places can really save you even more money on housing. And these areas are also growing fast too, but they're still way more affordable. And again, super close to Salt Lake, so you can kind of get the best of both worlds.
So if city life isn't your thing, then there's going to be plenty of great options in the surrounding suburbs. We have Cottonwood Heights, Sandy, Draper, and other cities along the East Bench are going to offer stunning views and easy access to the mountains. If you head west, places like Harriman, South Jordan, and West Jordan are growing and they offer a little bit more space, and you're going to find that the housing is usually a little more affordable out there in the suburban areas. You might even get a little more house and a little more yard for your money compared, to downtown Salt Lake City.
Yeah, for sure. And like we talked about, you could also look north in places like Syracuse, West Haven, or Ogden, where the growth is happening fast. These areas are still within an hour of downtown Salt Lake City, if not closer, but offer a quieter, more suburban lifestyle. Or if you're looking south, Utah County is booming with cities like Lehigh, Eagle Mountain, and Saratoga Springs expanding rapidly.
And for those who even want to be a little bit further from the city, there's always what we call the Wasatch back areas, which are going to be places like Park City, Heber City, Morgan, Midway, places like that. They're going to offer more, those mountain towns. They're going to have a totally different lifestyle with beautiful scenery and access to outdoor activities year-round. Prices here are going to be a little bit high though, but if you are looking for that mountain lifestyle, then it might totally be worth it for you. So Salt Lake City is changing fast, and it's clear that more and more people are starting to see the appeal there. Whether you want to be in the heart of the city or somewhere a little more quiet in the suburbs, there's definitely a place for you. The growth here is exciting, but it does come with its challenges, so it's important to weigh out the pros and the cons before making your move here to Salt Lake City.
We hope that you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. Picking where you'll call home is an important decision, and we would love to help you make that smooth transition to the Northern Utah area. If you're looking to move to the Northern Utah area, we would love to help you out. Give us a call, shoot us a text, or send us an email, and until next time, we are keeping it real. Stay.